This is the pre-intro to What, Where, Why, Enemies of Bloodborne, Episode 18, The Snail Women. This is a series we do for Patreon. You can usually get this at the $2 donation tier, but this episode's going up free on YouTube.
Yeah, because we noticed that there isn't that much info about the snail ladies, and we wanted to share it. However, we're doing this pre-intro to warn people that because this was originally a patron episode, it may end up being a little wacky.
Yes, this does fall short of our usually excellent standards.
Wow. Okay, bully. Tring, tring.
Hello?
Hello. May I speak to Dr. Richard Pilgrim, please?
Speaking?
Hi, this is Sinclair Lore, calling you from Where Sinclair Lore.
How did you get this number?
Brutus gave it to me.
Oh, fuck that.
I'm calling you from What, Where, Why, Enemies of Bloodborne, Episode 18.
Is this an organization or an LLC or a charity?
It's a What, Where, Why, Enemies of Bloodborne.
Go on. It's 1:30 a.m. I don't have anything to do. I don't have any further appointments today, so...
Thank you. And Masu was wondering if you could talk about the Snail Women and Uzumaki.
Certainly.
Thank you. It will only take 5 minutes of your time. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Will my call be recorded to aid in customer training?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
It actually is being recorded.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Pilbeam,
yes.
Could you please tell me?
This is literally the most number of times I've been called doctor, like, in my life, and it's this. No one respects me. Not the faculty, not my parents, not the dissertation committee, not anyone else in my field. But I've got a question about snails, completely unrelated to your area of research. Certainly.
Thank you. Can you please tell me, what are the snail women?
Well, you know a snail.
Mm-hmm.
You know a woman. Imagine you cross the two, so there was a mucus-covered, hairless woman inside of a snail shell.
Mm-hmm.
And she, instead of legs, she has a tail like a snail.
Mm-hmm. So there are two variants of the snail woman, one with a shell and one bare. Could you describe them?
Well, it's what I just described, but one is... Okay, so some of them, like, it's not really two variants. All the snail women are the same model. And it's just that some of them are initially inside a shell, like a snail shell, they're curled up. And there's all these shells all over the area. And some of them, the snail women will crawl out of the shell and, like, come for you. And sometimes they'll completely come out of the shell, and other times they'll drag the shell around. Mm-hmm. And then there's other ones that just aren't in a shell. And despite them being called a snail, they're actually quite fast. They sort of propel themselves. They sort of look like they're doing butterfly. They're, like, moving their swim, like stroking with their arms, and they move very quickly through the water, and they jump at you like a snail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. And could you just describe them, what they look like? Because they seem to have very, like, I don't know, blue, translucent skin, and their veins or something on them, and their hair is like, I don't know if it's hair.
Well, they have, like I said, they're hairless, and they They pretty much are, but they have a sort of like it's like a membrane coming off their head that looks like hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it doesn't appear to actually be hair.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the snail, the most snail-like part of them, which is the bottom half. From that, there's a number of like it's hard to tell what they are. They're like bulging veins or tentacles or something that are like wrapping themselves around the sort of human-looking part of the snail woman. So it kind of looks like it's two things fused together, or like that they're in the middle of changing into something else.
Could those things be umbilical cords or whatever? Or the cords that we find in Bloodborne, or
I don't think so.
okay.
Okay, well, no. Why do you, as part of this telephone survey, think that they're umbilical cords?
No, okay. Well, because let me ask you, how did these snail women come to be?
Well, the problem is that they're in the nightmare,
Hmm.
which makes it very, very hard to tell if like how accurate that is, because a lot of things in the nightmare we know are not what they were in the waking world.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's not clear if like the inhabitants of the fishing hamlet legitimately were like that much like mollusks and fish,
Hmm.
or if they were just like a bit like that, and because they've been in the nightmare for ages, like the sort of the way that they're represented has changed in a similar
Hmm.
way to like when you fight like the old hunters. They have these like huge glowing eyes, and there's the like Ludwig and Lawrence probably didn't look like that in the waking world and things like that. So it's not.
Hmm.
But like it looks as though you find a lot of them inside of shells,
Right.
and presumably like the shells are like in they're just a naturally occurring thing there.
So, are the shells something that is created as they transform, or are the shells just there and they're like, oh, I just found a tiny house?
I think the shells are just there because you see them poking out of the walls and the roof and things. Like they look like fossils.
Okay.
So it's not clear like exactly what's going on. It looks like the fishing hamlet is like living off the phantasms. So it could be like the
Like
more
eating them, or?
yeah, because I don't know what else they would eat there because they don't seem to fish anymore apart from phantasms.
Hmm.
So it's I guess it's like if you consume enough of these phantasms, you start taking on the likeness of the thing.
Hmm.
The other possibility is that because it's only the women that are the snails. The other like the men seem to just be fish, even like
Hmm.
regardless of what they're doing. So like the elders of the village are the very tall fish with the pointed heads, and then the other ones like the hunched over fish with fins and things.
Hmm.
Um, so it could be that like again, if you look at like Hemwick and Canehurst, it's all matriarchal, and there's like a defined like cast of women who are in charge of everything. And since the Hamlet goes on and on about like mother cause,
Hmm.
it could be that like mother cause has a sort of like attendant group of like handmaidens or priestesses that serve her, and because they are in the service of that great one, they might be like sharing her insight or her blood or something, and that's making them into little like facsimiles of her. Because Cos kind of looks a bit like one in the sense that
Right.
she's got like the front half of her is like a human woman sort of, and then the back half of her is the big fish. So you
Hmm.
can see like over time maybe they would become something like Cos.
Hmm.
Yeah. And again, like when you get there, they're the ones who are praying for her. They're all lined up around where she died, and they're all like in this hunched position, like they're praying.
Thank you. And where are the snail women?
They're in the fishing hamlet. And also there's one in the hunter's nightmare and it falls out of the sky.
Why do you think she falls out of the sky?
I have no idea why she falls out of the sky. I mean, I know why she falls out of the sky in terms of like the game, because they're trying to clue you in that there's something above you that you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why she would do. Was she wandering around or something?
She's like, damn it, I lost my contact. Just falls off the edge.
You know, you can knock the Hamlet priest off the edge.
Oh, that's horrible. Does he fall down and just chill at the bottom?
Yeah, he does, because he can't die. So if you use Beast Roar on him, he flies off the edge and then he just walks around on top of the little, like, hunter's nightmare you can see down there. And just keeps talking, like nothing happened.
He's so over it. He's like, those Bergenworth people coming here, killing everyone. Now they knocked me off the edge. I am so over it. I'm just gonna ignore them.
No, he's more just like, he falls off the edge and he's like, ugh. Anyway, and another thing. Fucking Bergenworth. You know what they fucking did? I'm not trying to be negative, but this did happen. So, yeah, that's what and where. I mean, there's the Slug Princess, but she was cut from the game.
Oh, we can talk about her at the end.
All right.
But also, where a very important where is there's a whole bunch of snail women praying where Cause's corpse is located in that cave.
Yes.
What is the game trying to tell us with that?
Because I think they're like the priestesses or the attendants of Cause. Also, all the voices you hear from the houses, they're all women's voices. Mm. So it could be that like it's all the snail women are like the, I don't know, like the Cause priestesshood, and they're the ones who are like in control. They're the ones who are like they're like praying for Cause, and they're also the ones who are placing the curse on the hunters. Mm-hmm. Like they're like the curse, the fiend, the children, two voices. Because I don't know who else they would be. Mm-hmm. Because when you hear the fish talk, they're just like.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, thank you, Richie. And why are the priestesses or the fish women, the snail women?
It's like I said, I think that they're like, the two possibilities are that they're consuming the slugs constantly, which is kind of understandable because like you find a bunch of them in the pit with the parasites. So it could be that they're like, they're just in there like becoming one with them and they take on those attributes. The other one is that they could take on the attributes of Cause, because they do look like a smaller version of Cause. They also look a little bit like the crawlers in the Nightmare Frontier, which appear to be, again, like weird manifestations of Cause. Because that, if you remember a video someone made about 5 years ago, they look a bit like, it's like a woman's torso is the base, and then there's this sort of thing that's crawled up over it like a hood. Mm-hmm. So, they could be related. It could be that eventually the snail women become that thing, or I don't know. Okay. But they because the question specified Uzumaki. Remember?
What?
Didn't the question specify Uzumaki as something we had to discuss?
Oh yes, sorry, yeah. Go on.
Yeah. You're not very. This telephone survey is not going very well. I'm having to conduct it for you. Sin on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not at all and 5 being very strongly. So the snail people come, at least visually the riff is on Uzumaki. like a lot of the Hamlet is. And we've talked about this before on other telephone surveys. Because the Hamlet, like, it's partially shadows over Innsmouth, but it's also the thing that drifted ashore by Junji Ito, who wrote Uzumaki. And other things that, like the Uzumaki, like that also has the big lighthouse in it that the fishing hamlet has and stuff like that. But in Uzumaki, there's Uzumaki literally means spiral, and this it's a series of little vignettes about this town that's built above a gigantic sort of eldritch spiral, and the spiral is corrupting everything in the town and making it spiral. And an example of like a naturally occurring spiral is, of course, a snail shell. So there's a series of vignettes where people turn into snails, like gigantic humanoid snails. They look like the snail women, but less sexy. So they just look, it's just like human torsos with the back end of a snail, sort of like, and then they gradually just become snails. It's sort of like a gradual transformation.
Okay. So now we could do a mini what, where, why about the snail priestess from the cut content.
Certainly.
So
it's going to be very short. Yes, yeah, Sinclair Law, LLC.
Could you please tell me about the cut priestess?
Okay, what? She's called Slug Princess internally. What she is a lady, but her spine and legs are twisted around. So that's, again, another Uzumaki thing, isn't that people's bodies start twisting into spirals. They're twisted around, so like it looks like her body is sort of just like becoming a spiral, basically. Her hips and her shoulders are like totally perpendicular. Like they're like facing completely different directions.
It's very unsettling.
Yeah, she's also, it looks like that is preventing her from moving as well, because she's perpetually she drags herself around on her hands. Her body is also melting, if you look closely at it. When I first saw her, I assumed she was wearing clothing that was wet and it was like sticking to the floor, but that's actually her body. It's like sort of, she looks like she's made of wax that's like melting into the ground. And she is blindfolded. And I showed this off in a stream that I did, where I went into the model viewer and I removed her blindfold, and under the blindfold she has like one of her eyes is all messed up. It's all like milky and sort of rotting out.
Was it the right eye or the left eye?
It was the left eye.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of all we know about her, because she only exists in a test map. Like, she's never put in an area. And because, like, it looks like she's a character that they made very, very early on and then just abandoned. Another example is that the Anthony Hopkins looking priest, who people think is Herbert, but it isn't.
And sorry, another thing with the priestess is that she has like long black hair.
Yeah, she has very long. She looks a lot like Rosaria from Dark Souls 3.
But she also has chains on her legs.
Yeah, she's chained up, and she has associated sound files of the chains like scraping on something when she's moving, like scraping against stone. And there's also a lot of splashing, which makes it sound like she's supposed to be in a pool of water somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was one of the first things that they made, as far as we can tell. Because basically, like, the ID that she's given is the ID of like the central cast people, like the doll and Gurman and that. And she has, like, what we have is basically all we've got. We don't know where she was going to go because she's assigned to a map that's just used for testing. And we have a document that lists like the basically what each character is. And the problem is it was written after she was removed. So next to her, it basically just says like, this character exists to test dialogue with. So it's basically like, this character is a placeholder right now. We don't know what she was supposed to be before. We don't know if she even had much of a function before. She's finished enough that she has attack animations and can move around.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember the priest, the guy who we think is supposed to be Anthony Hopkins,
Right.
all he ever does is T-pose. Like, he has, as far as we can tell, he has no animations. He can't do anything. He's just a model that they never gave any animations to. He just stands there. Whereas the Slug Princess was finished to the point where, like, you could hypothetically, like, put her in the game and she would work.
Mm-hmm. And she also has dialogue, which is kind of creepy.
She has dialogue that is in like an eldritch language,
Mm-hmm.
and it's literally like we don't know what it is because it's not in an existing language. It's just babbling.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost like singing it or something.
In kopkas bravlam munk. In jukstilma. Vis hagus. Varus nok. Ob in kopks.
She sounds like she's chanting because she repeats the same noises over and over. It's worth, I guess, pointing out that in the early versions, you know, the song you hear when you go to Yahagol, the Latin one,
Yeah.
that's not in Latin. That's also in a made-up language.
Okay.
So it's possible that at that point they were going for some like Lovecraftian eldritch language, and they didn't go with it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to point out would be that her blindfold is very similar to the one Annalise is wearing. It's like this sort of like lace blindfold.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, we don't, like, obviously they recycled the concept into the Snail Women, but as for the Slug Princess, we literally have no idea. She is just there. I'm going to look her up because I've got the params with me.
And let me ask you what you think. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Do the Slug Women and Slug Priestess kind of look like the doll?
Yeah. Oh, actually, another thing about the Slug, the Snail Women.
Mm-hmm.
Their bolt defense is so high that if you hit them with a bolt weapon, it just won't do anything.
Wow.
Which is odd because, like, the game makes a big deal about the kin of the cosmos. If you hit them with a bolt, it does a fuck ton of damage, right?
But don't the priests make like?
Yeah, the priests shoot lightning, and there are priests inside that are like they're running their hands over things, and there's like lightning sparks coming off them.
Yeah.
When you went in there, you would assume, oh, they're kin of the cosmos, but they're not. And I think that's sort of hinting that, like, no, they are something beyond the kin of the cosmos. Because, like, they're mechanically they're not kin, and also lightning, which is the kin's biggest weakness, like, literally does nothing to them.
Mm-hmm. But also, as you said earlier, this isn't a nightmare, so...
Yeah. The other possibility is that the reason lightning does nothing to them is that they're covered in mucus. So there's nothing for it to conduct.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing I forgot to ask you earlier.
Yeah.
You know when you find the praying snail women before doing the boss fight?
Yeah.
If you attack them, they don't fight back.
Or
they roll up them. Yeah.
They're basically objects. It's like breaking barrels.
Yeah, that's what...
Yeah, you can roll into them and they'll die.
But what is the lore reason behind this?
I think they're just praying and they don't notice you.
Well, I mean, okay, what I did is I kind of rolled on some in the back and just stood back and watched. Nobody did something. I rolled on some in the beginning and stood back and watched.
Yeah.
Like, they just ignore you. Is it like, oh, ignore him, he'll go away? They just fed up with the hunters. Bergenworth keep coming, you're killing everyone. Oh my god. Or is it because it's a Monday and they're like, I'm not dealing with this. It's a Monday, just kill me. Don't care. Are they millennial snails?
Maybe.
Is there something else you wanted to add?
I'm just looking at the Slug Princess's params, and she has 2 hit points, so she's twice as tough as Brador.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Peelbeam. Really appreciate it.
That's quite alright. Do I get, like, a voucher or something?
We'll put your name in a giveaway, and maybe you'll get an Brutus mug.
Oh, great. We'll go with the other 2, and the 3 framed images and the t-shirt. I wear the chains I forged in life.